Hi there, this is Teri from stampinmagic.com. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this lovely card folder. I created it using the Best Bunny stamp set and some of our Twinkle Twinkle designer series papers. I used an A4 sheet of card for this version, but I'm going to include instructions for both the A4 version and also for US and Canada, who will need to have a sheet of cardstock that measures 8 inches by 11 inches. So your standard size cardstock needs to be trimmed just slightly. The reason for the difference in size is basically because we use different standard size envelopes. So the US-Canada envelopes are smaller than the ones we use here in the UK and in Australia, I think. So, as you can see, our envelopes are slightly wider and quite a bit longer than the ones used in the US and Canada. So the US-Canada box is smaller overall when compared to ours, and I've also had to adjust the depth on the pocket on the side. Now, I will go through measurements as we go, but you will also find all the measurements you need in the corresponding blog post on my blog, and I'll put a direct link to this in the description below. Place your card in the Simply Scored tool with the long side at the top, and if using A4, score down at 4 5/8, 5 1/8, 9 3/4, and 10 1/4. If using 8 inch by 11 inch card, then you need to score down at 4 1/2, 5, 9 1/2, and 10 inches. Rotate your card so the short side is at the top, and if using A4, score down at 3/8, 7/8, 7 3/8, and 7 7/8. If using 8 inch by 11 inch card, then you want to score down at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 7 inches, and 7 1/2 inches. As you look at your card, it's divided into 3 sections, 2 larger ones of equal sort of size, and then the narrower one at the bottom, which is going to be for the pocket. Now, on the corners of that bottom narrow section, you've got 4 small sections. Now, we're going to keep 3 of those, but everything else is going to be cut away. I'm starting on the opposite end, and I'm going to cut away that side section until I meet the bottom corner section. Okay, then I'm going to cut across, and I'm isolating that tiny little tab, and then I'm going to slant cut it just to take the edges away. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the opposite side, but I'm starting by isolating that tab piece, cutting off the outside section, and then slant cutting that little tab, and then the rest of that long section can be removed. You can either do this by scissors, or you could use your trimmer if you want to get a perfectly straight cut. Next, fold on all the score lines and then burnish with your bone folder to make them nice and sharp. One other piece of cutting that we need to do that I almost forgot about was to trim the outside tabs down where the pocket is. Okay, so again, you just want to put a little slant cut on each side of these two tabs. To put this pocket together, I'm going to start with the tiny tab and I'm going to add glue to the right side. And then adhere it to the side of the pocket. Just holding that in place. Make sure when you're holding it that corner is nice and square. And then repeat for the opposite end. So the glue goes on the outside. And then that's adhered to the side section of the pocket. Just hold in place for a few seconds until the glue takes. And then all we need to do is add more glue to the pocket tabs. And this time we stick it to the side of the folder and align the fold on the pocket to the edge of the folder. Make sure it's nice and straight. Use your bone folder just to press it down and then repeat for the other side. I'm going to do the stamping next, and I'm using images from the Best Bunny stamp set. One thing I really love about this set is that you've got a choice of 3 different expressions that you can use for the face, which makes it really cute. I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink for all my stamping because I'm going to be colouring with the stamping blends. I've just got a strip of our normal weight Whisper White cardstock and I'm stamping the body at the bottom and the head at the top. This just makes it a little bit easier when I come to punch them out. And then I can stamp the face and the paws, and finally the little bow. I'm using the Smoky Slate light and dark blends markers, and also I used the Pink Pirouette light and dark. Now these have actually retired now, but at the time of recording this I didn't have any of the new pens, so this was the only pink I had. I'm going to start with the dark Smoky Slate marker, and I'm just going to go round and add colour where I want all my darker areas to be. I tend to stick mainly to the edges when doing this, but also add a few shadows elsewhere. Then I'll switch to the light Smoky Slate marker, and basically I fill in all the remaining areas and then blend the light and the dark together. Then I'll use both the Pink Pirouette blends markers to fill in the bow and the inside of the ears. The pink used in the Twinkle Twinkle papers that I'm using for this project is actually petal pink, so if I'd have had those alcohol markers when filming this, that's the pink I would have used. I'm going to finish off by using the light Pool Party marker just to highlight the white area on the tummy. Then I can use the coordinating bunny builder punch to punch out the body, the head and the paws. I'm also using a piece of white scrap just to punch out the bunny's tail. And then I'm going to cut out the little bow by hand. And then using my light Pool Party alcohol marker again, I'm just going to draw around the edge of the bunny's tail. I can now put most of the bunny together, and I'm going to start with the bow and just put a tiny dot of wet glue on the back and then fix that into position. Then I can add glue to the tail and position that. And finally I can add dimensionals to the back of the bunny's head and to the paws. I can then use the bunny's head to help me position the paws. I've cut out a mat using one of the Stitched Labels framelit dies, and I'm going to use this to stamp on for the front of my folder. I'm starting with this little grass image from the Best Bunny stamp set, and I'm using soft seafoam ink, and I'm just going to stamp the grass towards the bottom of this panel. Most of it won't show because it's going to be covered up with a bunny. And then I'm going to use this little star flourish stamp and Pool Party ink, and I'm going to stamp this into the background. And again, a lot of it will be covered up by the bunny. And then I can add my bunny, starting with the body, and this will be glued flat to the panel. And then I can remove the backs from the dimensionals on the head and position this. To finish off, I'm adding one of our basic rhinestones to the centre of the bow. Now to cover the A4 folder, I've got two pieces of Designer Series paper from the Twinkle Twinkle pack and a piece of Night of Navy card. Now the larger piece of paper is 16 centimetres by 11.2 centimetres. The smaller piece of paper is 9 centimetres by 11.2 centimetres. And the Night of Navy card is 9.4 centimetres by 11.2 centimetres. Now if you are using the 8" by 11" card to make your folder, then your largest piece of Designer Series paper will measure 5 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inch. The smaller piece of paper will measure 3.5 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and then your Night of Navy card will measure 3 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. Add the smaller piece of paper to the navy mat and then position this into the middle of the larger piece of paper. Add glue to the back of this section and then position it onto the front of your folder. I've used the Stitched Labels framelit die again to cut out another panel in Night of Navy cardstock. And I'm going to layer these two together using dimensionals. Then this can be positioned onto the front of the folder. I'm going to add another piece of designer series paper to the front of the pocket. Now, if your folder is created using an A4 sheet, this will measure 16 centimeters by 3.3 centimeters. If you use the 8" by 11" card for your folder, then your paper will measure 5 3/4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Before I position the paper, I'm going to add 2 of the magnets. These have already got glue dots on the back, and then they'll be covered by the paper. Then I can add the other 2 magnets on top of the ones I've already positioned. This time the glue side is upwards, and then I'm just adding an ink pad here so I've got something to press down on, and then I can close my folder, press down, and that will pick up the 2 magnets and they'll be in the correct position. Now, if you find that these last 2 magnets move when opening and closing your folder, you may want to add another panel of designer series paper over the top. This folder comfortably holds 3 envelopes and 3 cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and press that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future projects. Bye for now.